Hi guys, going to take a wee look at a quite unusual Japanese Famicom game. As you can see here, it's made by Capcom and it's called Sweet Home. It was based on it was kind of developed at the same time as a Japanese horror movie of the same name that came out. I think it would be 1989. Capcom worked with the company making the film to do a game based on it. Nothing overly unusual in that, you would think, but the game is kind of amazing, but it never got released outside of Japan officially. What's cool about it, it's essentially the template for Resident Evil. You're in a haunted mansion. It's really, really cool. There's 5 playable characters in it, and if a character dies, the game continues regardless. You get 5 different endings based on what happens. A lot of stuff in it made it into Resident Evil. In fact, we'll go into that a wee bit further on. At the time, it was pretty technically amazing. It is billed as an RPG. There's a lot of what's now called Metroidvania type elements in it. And when you came into the combat with monsters and zombies and ghosts and stuff, it went into a first person view. It really did push the Famicom quite a lot at the time. Developed by the Twisted Sadist that made the Ghouls and Ghosts arcade game. And yeah, generally acknowledged as being a fair bit better than the film it was based on. They did take a few liberties with the story and all that to expand it out. But yeah, from what I've kind of read, the guy that made it was very frustrated with the Famicom. He obviously worked in arcades, so he was quite frustrated with the Famicom's lack of kind of technical ability, but he worked wonders with what he could do. So yeah, we've got the cartridge here. You can see this guy doesn't look very happy. I have played through it a bit, and like if the woman that's the kind of nurse dies, then you'll quite often find like medical stuff around about where her corpse is left lying. So it doesn't, if somebody's abilities go, then you can still play and finish the game, which is quite clever design. Got a nice wee instruction booklet here. Just registration card and other stuff. So the cool thing about this, the guy that made Resident Evil, essentially when they started Resident Evil, they set out to remake this just because they were quite frustrated back then that they couldn't do what they really wanted to do, but they didn't have the license to the film anymore, so they had to create a new universe, and that's where Resident Evil came from. In fact, the guy who developed Resident Evil has said he's not interested in doing remakes of his own games, but he'd love to do an actual proper remake of this, obviously using modern technologies, which would be pretty awesome, but yeah, they would need to pay for the film license. So not really. There is fan translated versions of this about in English, and people have dumped the ROMs onto cartridges and they'll sell them to you on God knows what, Etsy or AliExpress or whatever. So it would be a way of playing through it in English. But yeah, a wee bit of history that not too many folk know about just because we didn't get it here. And most folk would probably think that Resident Evil was something really unique when it came out. This is kind of widely regarded as one of the best horror games ever made, despite the technical limitations. So yeah, I mean I think it's about £100 to £120 for this. It's not the cheapest of games, and obviously in Japanese, unless you speak the language, it'd be quite difficult to play. But for a little piece of history, it's well worth checking out. So, yep, thanks guys. Take it easy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.